There are days when the faithful can feel it in their gut that something big is brewing in Santa Clara. Not blind hope, not off-season fluff. That mix of scars, hunger, and memory that comes from watching this team get close to the Super Bowl and walk away even more obsessed with getting back. And right now, 4 storylines are feeding that feeling. A young defensive line target who could bring more nastiness to the trenches. A wide receiver gamble that could split the fan base in half. An urgent pass rush answer after a dream target became too expensive. And then there's the last move, the one that might quietly raise the ceiling of this offense more than people realize. So let me ask you this, Niner gang. Do you really believe this front office is building a roster that can get back to the top? Hit like, subscribe, and lock in, because this one gets serious fast. You know the kind of move people shrug off in March, and then by December it turns into the exact reason a team survives in the fourth quarter? That's where the Kristen Miller conversation gets interesting, because the 49ers defense has always looked the most dangerous when it owns the line of scrimmage, when it makes offenses uncomfortable, when it forces second and long, obvious passing downs, panic, bad decisions, all of it. And if there's one thing this fan base feels, it's that this front needs to get meaner again from the inside out. Kristen Miller is not the flashy prospect sold as a day-one savior. Honestly, that might help him. His profile feels like a classic Niners fit, young, physical, moldable, and tough enough against the run to earn trust early. He played a lot of nose tackle, but the body type and athletic upside suggest he can move around. That matters for a team trying to stay competitive while being smart with money and roster construction. What jumps out with Miller is the foundation, the leverage, the violent hands, the way he competes against the run with real maturity. That gives him a solid floor. This is not some raw project who may need 2 years to matter. This is a player who could rotate in and help fairly early, especially in those ugly, physical games this team has to win again. And be honest, faithful. How many times have you watched this roster and thought the same thing? It needs more brute force in the middle. Now here comes the hesitation. The pass rush part of his game is still under construction. The plan is inconsistent. The moves don't always connect. The traits are there, but the production still isn't. So let me throw this at you. Would you trust a second-round pick on a defensive lineman with a safe floor against the run, but without proven juice as a pass rusher? That's where value changes everything. At pick 27, it feels rich. At pick 58, now we're talking. Because then the 49ers would not be forcing upside. They'd be buying toughness, youth, versatility, and cost control for the next few years. And for a team trying to stay dangerous without burning through money, that matters. But hold that thought, because the next issue hits an even more emotional nerve. The wide receiver room. This is where the offseason gets uncomfortable. One thing is tweaking depth. Another is staring at the room and realizing it could be almost completely different in one swing. If Brandon Ayuk is gone, if Juwan Jennings leaves too, and if the secondary names don't stick around, then suddenly this offense is stepping into danger. Not enough proven talent in a system that demands timing, separation, and vertical stress. And when that disappears, Brock Purdy starts carrying more than any quarterback should have to carry alone. That's why Alec Pierce is such a fascinating name. Not because he's some universally accepted star. The reason this gets heated is the risk. He's coming off a 1,003-yard season with 6 touchdowns. He led the league in yards per catch in back-to-back years. That is real field-stretching ability. That is a receiver who changes how safeties line up and forces defenses to respect the deep ball. And let's be real, how many times did the 49ers offense feel like it was missing exactly that kind of weapon? But then you get to the money, and everything changes. 3 years, $79 million. That is not a depth move. That is a major financial bet on a player who didn't post his first 1,000-yard season until year 4. So now the question gets brutal. Are you paying for what he is, or for what you hope Shanahan can unlock? That's the line between aggressive and reckless. On paper, the fit is easy to understand. Pierce wants quarterback stability. The 49ers have Brock Purdy. He wants a winning environment. The Niners still have that reputation. Shanahan could use that deep speed to loosen coverage, create more room underneath, and bring back some of the explosive fear factor this offense didn't consistently have. It wouldn't just be about Pierce's numbers, it would be about the chain reaction. So let me hear it in the comments. Would you hand Alec Pierce that kind of contract? Or does that feel like paying elite money for a player who still has more to prove? Because that's the heart of the debate. The talent is real, the need is real, the fit is tempting. But the price tag could turn a smart offseason into a dangerous one. And if that already feels tense, the next conversation turns the pressure up even higher, because it hits another obsession for this fan base: finding pass rush help without blowing up the future. Some losses stick with a fan base for weeks. Others turn into identity scars. And when you look at the 49ers right now, one need is obvious. They have to get back to harassing quarterbacks without relying on smoke and mirrors every snap. A defense built for January has to win with talent, violence, and depth. That's why Max Crosby was such a dream fit in people's minds. But dreams are one thing, the price is another. And once Baltimore pushed all the chips in, it became obvious San Francisco was not built to win that bidding war. 2 first-round picks for a team still trying to balance cap discipline, youth, and depth? That was never realistic. And truthfully, even 1 first-rounder may have felt too expensive for where this team is right now. That stings, because Crosby is the kind of guy who changes the swagger of an entire defense. But reality forces the Niners to look elsewhere. And that's where Trey Hendrickson enters the picture. The logic is simple. If you can't spend draft capital on a superstar, maybe you spend cash on proven production. Hendrickson gives you something this roster badly needs: pass rush results that are already banked. This is not a developmental swing. This is real sack production, real impact, real pressure. The problem is the money. Once the number starts living in the range of more than $100 million over 3 years, this stops being just a football debate and becomes a roster philosophy debate. You'd be buying immediate impact. You'd also be taking on serious risk in cost and future flexibility. So here's the split-the-room question. Would you rather pay big for Hendrickson right now, or keep your books cleaner even if it means this defense enters 2026 without that killer edge presence? And listen, if this breakdown is hitting for you and you want to see the 49ers get all the way back to the top, smash that like button right now. It helps the faithful grow. And if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe now, because this offseason could reshape everything for this team. But there's another layer. Rashawn Gary briefly showed up as a rumor after that Instagram post hinted at a Green Bay exit, even though later reports pushed back. That's how this time of year works. One post lights the internet on fire, one denial cools it down. But even if there is something there, the money is still heavy. So look how tough this gets for San Francisco. Crosby was too expensive in picks. Hendrickson may be too expensive in cash. Gary might be a cracked open door surrounded by uncertainty. And that sets up the final twist perfectly, because the biggest offensive answer here might actually be the quieter veteran move. And now we get to the move that may have been hiding in plain sight the whole time. The 49ers wide receiver room doesn't need a small touch-up. It needs a real overhaul. Sure, maybe a rookie hits right away. Maybe Jordan Watkins or Jacob Cowing gives you more than expected. Maybe Ricky Pearsall stays healthy and takes a jump. But building a season on maybes is how windows slam shut. So the question is no longer whether San Francisco needs a veteran receiver. The question is, which veteran can actually deliver value without crushing the budget? That's why Marquise Brown makes a lot of sense. And I know that name doesn't come with the same noise as the splashier options. But sometimes the best fit is the one people don't scream about first. Brown is coming off a frustrating run in Kansas City, in an offense that felt uneven and never fully in rhythm. Once Rashee Rice came back into the spotlight, Brown started fading into the background. But context matters. And when you look at the traits he still brings, it is not hard to see the fit in San Francisco. We're talking about a veteran with speed, plug-and-play value, and real vertical juice. Even in a down year, he still had 49 catches, 587 yards, and 5 touchdowns while playing a reduced role. That tells you there is still something left in the tank. And if his contract really lands just a little above $5 million a year, then this becomes one of those win-win opportunities smart teams hunt. At that number, Brown is not a reckless gamble. He's a calculated swing. And let's speak as fans for a second. How many times did this offense stall because there was no affordable veteran who could threaten defenses deep and force them to back off? Brown can do that. In Shanahan's system, with motion, spacing, and creative alignments, he could find relevance again fast. He can move around the formation. He can stretch coverage. He can create cleaner looks for Purdy and more breathing room for the rest of the room. And if you start imagining a trio built around Pearsall, a high draft pick, and Marquise Brown, suddenly this receiver problem starts looking a lot less scary and a lot more dangerous for everybody else. And here's the beautiful part. While everyone argues about the flashier name, the bigger contract, the louder headline, the smartest move might be the quieter one. Some fans want Alec Pierce for the upside. Others think Brown is the better football answer because he fits the budget and the system. Honestly, that debate says everything about how contenders are built. Sometimes the team that wins the offseason isn't the one making the most noise. It's the one making the sharpest decision. So that's the feeling right now in Santa Clara. These aren't just random moves to patch holes. This looks like a front office trying to reshape the identity of the roster and take another real swing at the Super Bowl. There's possible youth on the defensive line. There's a risky swing in the receiver market. There's major urgency off the edge. And there's also that smart veteran opportunity that might return more than the headlines suggest. The real question is whether this combination can give the 49ers back the toughness, depth, and explosiveness this fan base demands. So tell me before you go, would you go all in right now? Or would you keep this rebuild controlled and disciplined? Drop it in the comments and send this to another Niners fan.